Our PBS series, Finding Your Roots, shows how we're all shaped by the ancestors on our family trees, ancestors known and unknown. The series grew out of my belief that discovering who we come from is key to knowing who we are. To unlock the mysteries of my guest family trees, we combine traditional genealogical research with cutting-edge DNA science. These sophisticated research methods have been vital in breaking through the proverbial brick walls, which for far too long made it extremely difficult for African Americans to reconstruct their family trees. In my day job, I'm proud to be a professor at Harvard, where I'm also a member of the Advisory Council of the Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery Initiative, helping to guide the university's efforts to uncover its historic ties to the institution of slavery. My hope is that over time, unflinching self-examination will ripple outward, that Harvard will be a leader not only in scholarship, but in demonstrating institutional honesty and humility in confronting the complexities of our university's past. Harvard's journey to study our own institutional ancestral DNA reached a major milestone in 2022 when we released the landmark Report of the Presidential Committee on Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery. Our research showed that from the university's founding in 1636 until Massachusetts deemed slavery unlawful in 1783, Harvard presidents and other leaders, faculty, and staff enslaved more than 70 men and women. And there were financial and intellectual ties as well. In 2022, Harvard University researchers partnered with the nonprofit genealogical research center, American Ancestors, with the goal of learning as much as we could about the root and branches of this history. As a result, we now know that the original number of approximately 70 enslaved individuals has grown significantly to more than 1,600 individuals who have more than 600 living descendants. But why did the numbers change? And how did we uncover this new information?
When people do work like this to discover their ancestry, they tend to start with themselves and then work back into the past. They use record sets like vital records and church records, and those records are for specific people related to them. And then we work back in time, generation by generation. When we do genealogical research on enslaved people, we do the opposite. We start in the past and we move to the present. Plus, we're basically doubling the research, because when you do research on enslaved people, you have to look for both the enslaver and the enslaved. In researching people who were enslaved by Harvard affiliates, we first needed to understand the structure of the university, the different positions people held, and how these changed over time. For example, members of the Board of Overseers were often appointed because they held positions within the colonial government or because they were church ministers. But the criteria for who was an overseer changed over time. We then began compiling a list of more than 3,000 Harvard leaders, faculty, and staff who worked at the university between 1636 and 1865. Once complete, we began researching who among them may have enslaved people. Because enslaved people were not named in censuses until after emancipation, and because federal censuses only began in 1790, after the abolition of slavery in Massachusetts, researchers turned to a wide range of records to find enslaved people's names and the names of their family members. We began poring through records like wills, journals, letters, land deeds and property, marriage, and church records to see which enslavers had documentation indicating that they had enslaved people or where enslaved people recorded their life events. We also looked at court records, where enslaved people sued for their freedom. We found enslaved individuals mentioned on inventory lists. Enslaved individuals may have been listed among household items and the numbers of acres owned. Or an enslaver might have died and then left an enslaved person in their probate. Those are the types of records that we needed to use to extend this work back into the past.
One thing I always tell my students and my guests on Finding Your Roots is that every chapter in history, every family tree, and every institution has its share of shadows and surprises. The journey isn't always neat and easy, but it's a crucial part of self-knowledge, an experience both necessary and transformative. The leader of the Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery initiative, launched in 2022 to implement recommendations from the Legacy of Slavery report, is my colleague, Sara Bleich.
Harvard is on a journey. We are casting light on the university's legacies of slavery and addressing the enduring consequences of this history through purposeful change. There are a number of ways that we're hoping to create impact. To do this work of reckoning and repair, we're aiming to build on Harvard's strengths. The Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery initiative focuses on several efforts tied to our research, teaching, and scholarship. Some of them include educating our community and the public about Harvard's history of slavery. This comes through storytelling, events, and plans for a campus memorial. We are also strengthening Harvard's partnerships with historically Black colleges and universities. This comes through helping enable research, professional development, and capacity building. Additionally, we are identifying the direct descendants of those enslaved by Harvard leaders, faculty, or staff. Descendant research is a vital component of the many programs and initiatives we've undertaken to deliver on these efforts. Through this work, we are determined to help individuals recover their family histories by partnering with expert researchers who know where to look. This is a really important step, and it's something we take very seriously. When we can understand our institutional ancestry, no matter how complicated or painful, we can help create a better future.